Okay.
So, welcome to the Blackletter Brunch. Today is the 22nd of June, 2025, and our guest today is tattoo artist Theosone, also known as Adam Klodecki. Theosone is the owner of Scriptorium Berlin in Germany, which I visited last January. He will share his blackletter tattoo design process with us. So, thank you for joining us today, Adam. You're traveling, and I'm very happy that you were able to join us today. And
Thank you so much.
that.
Thank you. I'm very happy. Thank you for inviting me. It's a big honor for me and a big pleasure. I hope the connection in the forest will be okay. I prepared a few things for you to show about my work and my passion. Um, and just to start, a few words about myself for those that don't know my work. I come from Poland originally, but I live in Berlin, Germany. Um, and I graduated two artistic schools. I had the pleasure to study graphic design in artistic high school in the east of Poland, in a little town called Supraśl. And then I got accepted to Fine Arts Academy in Gdańsk, in the north of Poland. And I studied industrial design, visual communication, product design. I majored in product design in 2009. Um, but calligraphy was always a big part of my life. It started with a big mix of interest in letter forms, but especially graffiti. Because growing up in the early 90s in Poland, which just ended its communism times, and suddenly we had access to all the colorful images from the West, especially graffiti. And this was something that really had a huge influence on my perception of shapes and dynamic forms, and actually this kind of rebel approach to lettering and calligraphy. Later on, after this wild period of fascinating exploration of graffiti world, I found out that there is something like calligraphy. And in the beginning, I was a little bit ashamed to admit that I'm interested in it because it was kind of activity for old grandmas, that go to church and pray and so I couldn't tell my friends, like, hey guys, I'm practicing calligraphy, when all they did was graffiti and all the cool stuff, right? Now it's different. You know that. Calligraphy became a lifestyle. I mean, it became very popular. So after after my adventure with industrial design and with art in general at the Fine Arts Academy, I I was deeper and deeper digging in the calligraphy world. It was because of my professors, which were really interested in the topic, and they saw my interest and they would share it with me. Some opportunities, people that I met at the academy, and it was just growing. And of course, I'm. I have to say that I'm a person that collects hobbies, I would say, and I am very curious and I'm very impatient. So I try a lot of things, and I think I have this kind of thing that I focus very much on something that is interesting for me, and nothing else matters. So I would just close myself in a room and just go full deep into paper and pen, and um, just want to get better and practice a lot. And so everything that has to do with lettering is interesting for me. So I try stone carving, I make calligraphic paintings, I make murals and street art with lettering. And a few years ago, sorry, few 12, 13 years ago, I tried tattooing. And with the first time when I tried, it became clear to me that this is one of those things that I want to do every day, that this is fascinating. after spending many hours, many days, months, and years in front of the computer as a designer, as an industrial designer. I was designing trains, trams, and heavy transportation design. Um, Also, occasionally some logotype designs. I didn't see much people, you know. And tattooing has this thing that it has a few factors that are very interesting for me. So first of all, you meet people every day. You meet different people every day. You talk with them. You have a very intimate connection because you will go under their skin, right, during the process of tattooing, which I will also show you a little bit today. I have some presentation. Another thing is when maybe you experience that when you design something like a logotype design, for example, or a T-shirt slogan, whatever that will be produced, you create sketches, you send it to the client, and then the client is checking what he likes, what he doesn't like. He will search for something to change always. And the process is stretching. In my case, can be sometimes forever because I'm also not happy sometimes with the outcome of my work. So I will produce and produce, and I will create 500 different options for one word. And the thing with tattooing is every day the process is starting, it's happening, and then there's the end. I make a picture in the end of the day of the final work, and that's it. The the thing is done in one day, and this is what I really love about tattooing. My design process, I will share with you today, has a few different. I have a few different approaches when it comes to design. It depends on what the client wants. Um, Maybe I will try to show you now a video, and then I can maybe talk about it, or I can show you later a slideshow of my works, so you can also see what I'm talking about, because now you see only my face, probably. Uh, Let me see. Uh, I will share with you now my screen. Okay, and now let's try. So, you can see the murals I did. It's some wall paintings. This is a rooftop of a car. Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see this.
Oh, okay. There's some graffiti here. Maybe let me move it this way so it's going to be better. Painting. Um, there's some compositions inspired by graffiti. There's a billboard. Here's a tattoo. So here, maybe I can pause it. Let me check if I can pause that. Yeah. Let me go back. So here is, for example, just like a word play. It's in German. It says H, zwei, O. Zwei means two. It was a person that works with water, with I don't remember exactly what, but it is just H2O, but in this kind of approach. And here you can see what I told you about, like exploration of logo design. Here is a few final concepts of a tattoo convention logo design. Um, Here are some tattoos. Here's a wall painting in my tattoo studio, and this was made with a silver acrylic paint on a black background. I change this wall once in a while. So if you're guys interested in, if you are interested in the process, please ask me so I can tell you in detail how I create those things, which tools I'm using and all that. This is a wall in Gdańsk city where I studied. This is a UNESCO protected building in the center of old town of this medieval city. And this was a work, it was made by my wife and me in 2014. And it's inspired by the advertisings of the 20th century from that area. Um, let's go further here. We have some tattoos, I mean, a mix of Fraktur, Blackletter, Gothic styles with some scripts as well. Here, I don't know if you can see it properly. It's something I call a skullphabet, which is like an alphabet with added skulls. I will probably show you a few more pictures of those. I like to draw. I'm fascinated with skulls, and if you're later interested why, I can tell you a story about a um, very mystical monastery I visited when I was a kid. Here we have some tattoos again with this kind of dynamic, splashy texture. I will show you later how I create this because I have my tools with me. And it's a very dynamic process of writing black letter. Sorry, here's another one. That's a Berlin original tattoo on my client. It was also designed very quickly and tattooed very slowly. That's I think this was done in 2 sessions. So I can explain you later or show you on a video how the process looks like. Here is one of my works for Mont Blanc, which I am cooperating with since more than 8 years now. Sometimes I make live painting shows for them on the boutiques, like you can see right here with the marker on the window during some events. Sometimes I make presentations with calligraphy pens. Um, if you have questions, please ask, yeah, because yeah, I'm just talking about the pictures that I'm showing you. Here is um, a macro shot of a tattoo freshly made. Uh,
Are all of these tattoos done in black or are they colors?
sometimes I use color, but not so much. You know, like sometimes I will just add a little bit of red or some gray wash, but mostly I use black. Um, there are a few reasons. Like first of all, you work differently with colors, and secondly, like in European Union a few years ago, there came a new law that forbid the usage of some colors, and the ones that are allowed now are not the best quality. So um, yeah, it's just like that, like that. Um, here's I don't know if you can see the whole thing here now. There's some problems with the cropping. Excuse me for this. Another alphabet. Here is a some explorations of a logo for one rapper from Germany. Here's some shots from my sketchbooks, and that's some expressive calligraphy on the window made with the acrylic marker. Here's some brushwork on a brick wall. This is also on a wall of a abandoned office building. This is just this kind of dry brush technique. Here, it's also a crop of a. This is actually on the floor of a corridor, and it says "Walk on" with a silver marker. Here is my copy of some Hermann Zapf, so probably you know this work very well.
It's from Fido and Stickle. Yeah.
Exactly, genauso, Fede und Stichel. Yes, I had to try this. Failed miserably, but I love the process. Here's some spray work on a old abandoned elevator entrance in some abandoned building. I had a friend back in the days that was taking care of, or he was like, how do you say, he was like a security guard in buildings that were supposed to be taken down. So they were like abandoned, and we could just go paint there before they get demolished. Here's some one of the most painful spots on the human body, the feet. Here we have a football fan girl with some football team from Berlin. It was just a composition of different kinds of letterings. Sorry. And there we have like a inverted kind of tattooing where I actually tattoo the background. This one says mea culpa, which means my fault in Latin. Leave no one behind. Here's a mix of expressive black letter with ruling pen calligraphy. So what I like to do in tattooing, it's, when in calligraphy you think about the page that you have, the composition. In tattooing, you also have to think about the anatomy and how it will look on the human body. So I really like to play with the composition so it fits the dynamics of the background. Let's say that it will be. It's usually not on a flat surface, so it has to wrap around, and I really love to imitate the structure of lettering. So you can see here some parts are a bit more solid, some parts are a bit shaded. Here's some tryouts of Hermann Zapf again. Here are some of my paintings. Is like compositions that I usually make on canvases. Um, I mostly use acrylic paints and flat brushes to create those. Um, it's just white paint on black background and water, just diluted. Here's some another approach to Hermann Zapf, but with a little bit of how to say this texture. There's a wall painting, another wall painting with one of my favorite quotes: "Tough times don't last, tough people do." This Rudolf Koch, one of my biggest inspirations. Ah, sorry, something's jumping here. Oh, here's another example of a tattoo, and in this case, this is like fitting in to an existing tattoo. The skull there was already there, so I had to fit this insane. Sorry, into the leg here. Later, we also added background to it, but I also like this challenge that sometimes it's like with calligrams. You have a very specific surface to fill, and it's a challenge. Sometimes it's very interesting for me to create things like this. Another one, this one was a fine art print with my favorite quote: "Tough times don't last, but tough people do." Here are some other examples of expressive black letter. I call it Teo Textura. Teo from my graffiti nickname, and Textura because it has this texture, so I called it that way. Here's some Memento Mori, Amor Fati, very squeezed and not so legible, with a mix of thick black strokes with some very fine flourishes. Here's another gut filler with a German version of a prayer, of a Catholic prayer. Here's some shots from my sketchbook that all of those were made with a parallel pen from Pilot, filled with Talensecolin and just mixed with different watercolor options. Here's working on a digital version of a logo design, a little bit texturized and a little bit more clean. Here's one of those tattoos that is drawn by hand first with a marker. And this one was a funny one because it says "trust no one." And the guy, when he asked me for the tattoo, I said, "So how do you want it?" And he said, "I don't know. I trust you. Just do what you like." And then we started laughing because it says "trust no one." Here's another tattoo that says "crow" with this texture as well. Here's some patriotic tattoo for someone from Frankfurt. I really like this classic Fraktur. That's also, this one I didn't write it by myself. Of course, I used examples of original old German forms. Here are some sketches of the prayer that I showed you before. Respect. Here is like a close-up. You can see, I will later show you how I create those. Here's another shot from a sketchbook. Here's a black letter tattoo on the chest. Here are some logo design explorations. All of them say Dragon Cave. It's for a tattoo studio. I think the top middle one was the one that the girl chose in the end with this dragon. This dragon was like, I made it with the parallel pen just in the corner of the paper just to try if I could do it, and the one I did was actually the one that finally was used as this little dragon on top. Maybe I don't know if you can see.
Adam, could you move?
Yeah.
Could you turn your phone horizontally, please?
Yes, of course. Sorry.
Thank you. That's better. Yeah, we can see it better.
All right. Yeah. Something's okay. That's weird. Something's switching here in my presentation. Where he was someone, I don't know what it was about, but was supposed to look like an old Berlin kind of writing with the Brandenburg Gate. Just a composition, a square, very tight textura. Here we have like a effect of inverted black letter, expressive black letter, like overlapping with some shading, and it's on the foot. So that was a very painful process to do all these tiny details and the shading. But I like the final result. Oliver, this is exactly copied from the paper, so you can even see the sketches, like the sketch marks that I sometimes make very expressive very quickly. And people tend to like it, that it's kind of not so perfect from Pinterest. Here's an example of my painting. You can see this one in the whole, I think, but this is a ambigram that you actually read depending what you want to read. You don't have to turn it around. It says Arcanus and Cerberus, and depending how you look at it, let me check if I can. How can I show it to you? I don't know what's with the phone. It doesn't want to cooperate. Sorry for that. Here's another gap fillers with some expressive calligraphy. Per aspera ad astra on the back of the calves. Here we have a close-up of one of my colorful paintings with a quote from Antoni de Saint-Exupéry from The Little Prince. Another tattoo here. Here's a logo of my tattoo studio, tattooed on one of our guest artists, and she wanted to have a souvenir after visiting our studio, and that's what she got. This girl wanted a very fine line tattoo on her hip that would say Feu del Volontaire, which in French means hellfire. But I suggested that maybe instead of doing it with like a single needle, fine line, tiny tattoo, a quote like this would actually look better if we do it a bit bigger and more aggressive, more devilish. I did it with a marker on her first, and she liked it. And now actually we will expand it from her shoulder to her knee. So one of those that convince to do something not so common. Here's some playing with words. Light is the left hand of darkness. So we tried this kind of mirror and inverted calligraphy with black. You can see the light is there. This line is actually just the skin color, but because of the dotted contrasted background, it looks very, very light. I don't know if you can see it properly.
I love that effect.
Here are the sketches, and on the right hand side you can see like a printout from a sometimes I will scan my sketches and just play around in Photoshop to quickly show the client what's possible. So here you can see the handmade designs, and there on the right side underneath you can see a printout. Yeah, sometimes gap fillers like this. What's here? Leben, life. Yes. Another gap filler. Here you can see how it's written with a Sharpie marker, and then you can see the final result. This one says neurodiverse. Here's a little cover up. The guy had this tattoo on the shoulder blade. He wanted to cover with some bigger letters. So this was actually drawn with a Sharpie as well on his back. It's some Basque country dialect. I don't remember what it was exactly what it meant, but it was something important for him. Wanderlust. I had a lot of fun designing this one. I was looking into some historical materials instead of just writing it in my, I would say, graffiti kind of approach. I took some proper historical examples, and I studied the shapes and the dynamics. I think I was looking at Albert Capr's book Fracture or something. Here you can see a gap filler made with a marker, and then this is the final result. Stay true. There's another one. A composition, as I told you before, I like to play with the anatomy, so I would add those flourishes. The one on the top of the A goes kind of around the elbow, and then the flourish on the lower part is going along the bone. Here are some different designs for this client. He was not sure exactly what he wants, which style, so I did a lot of different versions. So we tried italics, we tried even like scripts, and even Palmer. I think there was some business writing as well, but in the end we did the one you can see in the middle, but I changed the flourishes a little bit. Vanda is the name of my client's daughter. Here you can see a bit more playful approach to this texturized black letter with sharp edges. So it's on the father, but he wanted to have something a bit more, I would say, sharp, edgy, aggressive, dynamic. Here is an example of a script calligraphy in black, but it's hidden behind this inverted texturized black letter in the front. That required a few sessions because it was really hard to figure this out, and I didn't know exactly what's gonna, like, I never did something like this, and I never saw anyone doing something like this, but I have to say it felt really, really cool. So I think I'm gonna be trying to push more designs like this to my clients. Here are some examples. The leg on the top is not finished yet. We're gonna finish it in 2 weeks. The whole leg will be in this kind of layering. And the one on the lower side of the screen, maybe you can see, or on the right, I have a video of the whole process I will show you in a moment. Here's another one I have a video of Meliora. And yeah, This is basically it. But I want to show you the videos now. I'll be talking about it. We're going to start with the Meliora. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see.
Sorry for the shakiness, but I was recording that with my glasses. I have the glasses with the camera that I can record the process. And sometimes I'm moving my head a lot, but I speed it up. So it's basically 2 minutes out of a whole day. You can see this is me in the morning. I check what I'm doing that day and I just design as like I'm warming up. I'm playing with the words. I'm checking what I can do. Um, it looks messy, but sometimes from those little words, along with the client, we would pick up elements that will become the final design. Um, so you can see I'm playing with this is the stencil now of the chosen one. This is a hectographic thermal transfer stencil. It's already disinfected and all that. You see here is the process. Uh, you see the stencil. You see like the very gently starting to check how's the skin, how it's reacting and everything. And then we're gonna do the speed up so you can see the final result faster, because the process of a tattoo like this takes around 3 hours, I would say. Sometimes less, sometimes more. It depends on the client if they are not moving too much. So here you can see how I on the top you can see design. It's just like an outline of the design that I use as a reference just in case the stencil is not so clear anymore. But yeah, here you can see already more or less the finished one. Here's the final wipe. And then we're gonna have a picture so you can see. Yes. And
No,
this is actually Raul. This is on a girl that knows you, and she is taking part in some of your workshops or something. I'm not sure exactly, but she's from California, and yeah, she said she knows you. Um, and another one I want to show you. This one is 4 minutes. Is the design process of the names of. It's a name of the daughter of my client. So here I'm just trying different different versions, different approaches with the birth date. Then I make a skeleton sketch with a pencil. Then I use my pen. You can see I'm refilling it right now. Then I just go over the skeleton lines to use the proper tool so I can have the effect that I'm looking at. Here's some expressive writing because sometimes I do something that my client didn't ask for, but sometimes they don't know that they could, like they don't know that there is a different version, different way. Here's a iPad outlining just to make sure that the stencil will be precise, because I really wanted to have details done as close as possible to the design that I had in my head. I don't know like how to explain this, but just wanted to have it precise this time. No, no place for any. Well, you know how it is.
and is that the transfer?
Yeah, that was like the transferring machine. Here I'm preparing my machine, the design, cleaning the skin, shaving. Now we place the stencil on the client. Now we take the stencil off. This process sometimes takes like 5 tries, sometimes two, sometimes one, but yeah. This is why I would say the most stressful and important part, to place the stencil properly. Because once it's there, we start. And once we start, it will stay with the client till the end of their days. So this is outlining. So this is 10 times faster. So you can imagine it's not a quick process. And actually, you have to be really careful not to transfer your habits from calligraphy to tattooing. It's a totally different approach. You really have to be careful. Here you can see filling out very, very gently and slowly. So it's also, for me, it's important that the clients are feeling comfortable. I don't like to rush the tattoo. If you are really careful, it's not that painful, for the clients. And with a lot of attention to detail, you can actually make it really precise and solid. And with today's equipment as well, I'm using the most advanced equipment that exists, and the equipment is so well made and so precise that yeah, you can achieve very, very detailed results. Here you can see Vaseline on my hand, so the ink doesn't spread on the skin too much. Here's the final wipe, and then healing process starts. So I take some pictures of this later with the proper camera. Here are the designs that we use. Like different. Those are the things I show to my client in the beginning of our meeting. Usually they are a little bit overwhelmed, but after a while, after a coffee and a discussion, they choose the one they love the most, and done.
That was fast.
Yeah. Okay, it goes again. So let me wait. Where are you? Zach, can I turn you on here again? Can you see me? Yes, you can. Right.
Yeah, I can see it.
Sun came out. So I can also show you live how I design things. I have my faithful pens with me here, but let me try with I have a tripod here, so maybe I can place it somehow here. Let's see. So I'm not switching off the phone. Okay. Can you see my beautiful forest desk? Can you see it? It's okay?
Let me spotlight you. Hold on. Here we go. There you go.
Ah, okay. Is it, do you see it mirrored or no?
Now I see it upside down right now.
Oh,
Now it's
wait,
facing you.
try.
Okay, now that's right set up.
Yeah, can you read it?
It says hemp sketch.
Ah, okay, okay, because in my phone I see it mirrored. Okay. So yeah, this is one of my favorite papers. Uh, and I will show you in a second why. Okay, it's okay. Can you see?
Yeah, right.
All right. So, Hannemüller, I love this paper factory, and hemp sketch is 60% of hemp fiber and 40% of cotton. Um, the texture is pretty rough, but I really like this texture, so I will show you. This is my custom parallel pen. The casing is from Davivid Pen. Maybe you know him. He makes those custom pen covers for parallel pens. Stabilized wood and some metal work here, really cool with the logo. Here I had the pleasure to design for him. Anyway, um, because those are not the most attractive pens out there. Um, this is a 6 millimeter parallel pen, and let's say brunch. Uh, how I start my design process. So first, I always write it here to see how many letters I have and where's the symmetry line, if it's needed for the purpose of the tattoo. And then I'll just start having fun with it. I see a potential for a flourish, I will not hesitate to use it. Now I'm using the whole block, so it's different than if I would use it on the table, but the table here is just raw wood covered in black paint, so I'm not gonna, maybe let's try, why not? If you have any questions about the techniques or something, just please ask me, because
Now, when you're writing with that pen, you're getting like a distressed or dry brush effect.
yes.
How do you slow down the ink flow like that?
Actually, now the ink flows really quickly. I don't know, but probably because I just load it with this, the Talent Ecoline that I use. It's a watercolor.
Okay. Echolene.
And yeah, and I use the syringe with a safety needle. So
Yeah. Um,
so I don't use the original cartridges. I mean, I use it once and then I refill it many times.
you're getting a nice dry brush effect there.
It's because of the speed and the pressure control. I will show you something in a second. And also the paper. That's why I told you this is hemp fiber with cotton. But if I slow down and if I have something more soft under here, I can make it solid. Like I just have to slow down
Okay. Yeah.
and put a little bit more pressure onto it. This is why I was telling you in the beginning that I have a very impatient nature. That's where this comes from, actually, from graffiti and the speed and the fact that I really wanted to see the results as fast as possible. So here I'm playing a little bit with like filling the gaps, playing with the rhythm, and I'm out of space on the paper, so let's pretend it continues somewhere there. Open composition. Um, Sometimes I would sketch baseline if I want to have more dynamic form. I would create a wave like that, and then think about the composition, maybe a bit more expressive. I would just make this kind of sketch for the first initial letter. I will slightly sketch it with the corner of the pen quickly, so I have those not so visible lines, but it's enough information for me. If I'm struggling with the word, I will use more of those lines, and sometimes this process I actually make in my head, and I can skip it on paper, so I can basically trace what I imagine on the paper. Brunch. Let's see. Maybe something like this. Now I have a very, very rough sketch. Wait, there's wind. So, okay. Now I will just use a very fast movement to have to get this dry brush effect. This is more like drawing than writing, actually. So I will just play with it. Create something ornamental. And if the surface of the table is more even, I can control it more. I can actually control the uncontrolled. You know what I mean? Like I call it sometimes the controlled expression, but so add some extra flourishing, maybe a diamond gap filler here just to fill that space. Maybe extra uh, fillers here and there. Maybe something here, and then the R. It can go here and then here. I'm not used to talking too much when I draw things like that. So probably I'm talking a lot of stupid things. Usually I make noises, I make sound like psh. Helps a lot. Star Wars sounds. So see, this is very dynamic, very, it's not legible. It's not made for reading. It's more a dynamic composition to, it's intriguing, I would say. Try a different approach now. Or actually, let's use this one. And I will use a smaller size of the brush of the pen. Sometimes after a wild one like this, I tell myself, okay, now let's try something more peaceful, peaceful. Let's see. Oh, the pen is very wet, but let's see. Maybe some fracture. At this stage of exploration, I don't think about being precise, being like super correct with everything historically. Um, I'm just checking if the letters are cooperating. Sometimes it's like this. They don't want to cooperate, and then you have to think about something else. I don't know why the pens are so wet today, but maybe it's the northern Poland pressure or something. Then I'm not so happy with this one. I will try something more heavy. Less white space here. I really like to have fun with those things. Sometimes I will just add random things because I know later in Photoshop I can remove it or I make another version. So I'm testing on this what I can do. Like maybe I can add a flourish. Nah, I will delete it later. I hope you can hear me well because I'm. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Nice.
You need to check because sometimes the phone is off or something. The internet went away and talking to myself for an hour. Okay. Um, then I check more and more, and let's see, maybe something taller. Mhm. Nah. Now I will show you some really cool pens that I have here. I showed you those. They look like normal. Uh-oh. Where's the rest? Okay, here. And this one. And that one. They look like standard parallel pens, but actually they're pens made by Rainer Wiebe, modified by him. For those who don't know, Rainer Wiebe is one of the greatest calligraphers when it comes to like really I'd say, academic approach to calligraphy. He's from Saarbrücken, I'm if I'm not mistaken. Um, he used to make those. Like he used to spend a day on one pen, and then he would sell them. I'm very lucky to have a few. This is one of my favorites. This one is actually, let me see if you can see it. It's like a standard parallel pen, but it has rounded corners, and the nib is also polished on, so it's thinner. But what you can do with this one is I use it to imitate old broken lettering. Because of the rounded corners, you can apply some pressure on it. So you can, it's empty, but okay, let me quickly load it with this one. So I can do this kind of fuzzy edges, it's more solid inking, but you can make it look like an old letterpress print, or something like this. So I have this one 6 millimeter, and I have the 3.8 millimeter version. Sometimes I use it with Gothic writing, and sometimes I would use it with italics to make it kind of like old and broken. The spider. Bye. So another one that I really like is this one. This one has a cut in the middle here. So it will give us the double line. I also can, with those pens, I can also make the structures just like with faster movements, you see? They're also very sharp, so you can create really straight lines with them. Another one I have from Rainer is this one. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, it's got several notches cut in it.
Yeah, with this. You can make effects like that. I really like to recommend this kind of tools to people that are learning, because if you have so many fine lines, you can see if your strokes are consistent and straight, like you will see every little imperfection right away. I really like to use it also for practice. The spider is back. Get out of here. Okay, stay if you want. And also expressive writing with this one. One of my favorites, maybe this is not for black letter, but this is a ruling pen, kind of. You can make tiny black letter with it, okay? But what I love about this pen is, let me show you here. So I can use it for Palmer method, for example. I can use it for drawing really straight lines just by hand because it's so sharp. I can use it for fine lines, thicker lines, thicker lines, thicker lines. Yeah. You can use it solid. You can use it really expressive with a lot of splash. So I really love this one, you know. Can go bold.
Now, how flexible is that nib?
It's not. It's just this parabolic shape.
Oh, I see. So
So
it's
depending on the angle here, you will control fine line, yeah, or bold. By slowing down and applying a lot of pressure, you will have a lot of splashing because it starts resonating and vibrating. If you tilt it a little bit this way, you can make more solid lines with not so many, I call it the sound waves, you know. So it has so many applications, so can do so much things with this one. And still you can write italics, you can make script, you know, even Spencerium. It's crazy how versatile this tool is. Of course, you can also manipulate it and make black letters somehow. It's not that easy, but you can draw. I also like it for drawing because look at that,
well, very expressive. I love that.
right? I love this one. But you have to be careful with using this like in front of computers and important things because everything gets covered with ink. It likes to splash a lot. Uh, but also, with parallel pen, I like to use it also for drawing with the edges, I can show you quickly. Maybe this cow, one of my beloved motifs. And the cool thing about the parallel pens is you can really quickly shade. If you want, you can add more details, of course, but you know. And we're out of ink on this, almost. more.
God, you work fast.
Yeah, I told you I'm really impatient, so I really want to see the results right now. So that's how I was drawing in my high school. That's how I was drawing in my academy. Teachers hated me because I would make the assignment for 4 hours. I would do it in 12 minutes, and then I would just, fool around. And so they would give me more assignments, and I was always saying, "Hey, this is unfair," because in the end of the day, I have 15 artworks, and I have like instead of one, and I have bad grades. Uh, because I misbehave, right? But yeah, I don't know. I'm really happy that I found the job, the perfect job for me because tattooing. That's the thing. Like I have almost every day I have a client, and I can do it quickly. I can design fast. Um, so that's why I can every day I can create something from start to finish, and sometimes it's a curse because I have so much material. Friends is friend I have a friend who's making books, and he told me like, hey, let's make an album with your artworks and like your sketches and everything. And I told him, hey, from last month I have 6 boxes of paper with the designs. It would take 12 years to sit down and scan those things and select and all that stuff. Um, and I also discovered that I have something that is called hypergraphia. I don't know if you know, if you ever heard about it. It's a kind of disease, or how would you call this? It's a constant need of writing. So I just can't stop when I start, and I just get warmed up, hypergraphia. I know people that have like problems in their families because of that, because they just can't stop. Um, Luckily, I with my family, it's okay because my wife is an artist. My kids are really like into their things as well. Um, but it's not always easy, uh, especially if like let's say there's a client that is can't make his mind or her mind, um, and the more you give them, the more they will get confused. Also, it's scientifically proven that human can make a conscious decision based on not more than 7 um, options. Um, when I design logos, I I keep remembering all the critiques from my professors from visual communication, that to remember not to confuse the client, because then the choice is either random or there is no choice at all. The project will never end, because in the end of the day they won't make their mind, and dangerous. So now when I design a logo, I don't show the client 50 or 500 versions. I show them like 5, so they can consciously choose the one they like the most. And I can also suggest which one I would prefer, what would give the most um options to use it later, in small, big size. If it's too detailed, of course, you can't make it as a coin or something that requires technology that is not precise enough. Um, I don't know. If you have any questions, like please ask me, because when I start talking about things, I can go to the totally different. topic by accident and just talk about stuff that is not so um, important or interesting.
I was just wondering how much you are showing to the clients, but then when your clients arrive at your studio, have they already chosen your design, or are you?
No, they always choose the same day they are getting the tattoo.
Wow.
That's an important step and a very good question, actually, because I think by human nature, we will always search for something that bothers us. And also, we like to share with others. So, what happens, I have a lot of friends that send the designs before the tattoo, and the frustration and the time on both sides is horrible because people will take the designs, they will show it to their boyfriends, girlfriends, aunts, fathers, whatever, and everyone will want to have a go. Everyone was like, I will add this, or I wouldn't do this one, I would choose that one, and this one is more like you, this one. So what happens, the client gets confused, doesn't know what they want anymore, and it's just painful. The process is becoming a nightmare. Not always, of course, but in many cases it happens like this. What I observe, but to get to the point where people trust you, you have to you have to have something to show them. I'm very lucky that the people that come to me nowadays, they already saw what I do, so they actually know what to expect. And most of my clients that come to get calligraphic work from me, they come because someone recommended or they saw the tattoo on somebody, and so they kind of are prepared, that they know that I won't send anything before, that we have to sit down. It happens very rarely that we are like sketching and discussing half of the day, and then we end up either just preparing the final design, and we make another appointment for the tattoos some other time. Sometimes we just make the outline and then we make another appointment to make the filling out later. And sometimes, very rarely, but I think in the last 12 years, I had maybe like 3 or 4 clients that in the end couldn't make their mind, and they just yeah, we didn't do it, or they would be really stubborn, show me something from Pinterest, like really horrible, and they like you could not convince them that you know people that come to get tattooed with lettering, they most of them, they have absolutely no idea about typography, calligraphy, composition, art, history, anything like that. So for me, it's this kind of designer's approach, and I was also teaching for a while, so I really like to have this discussion, that I want to show them that the material they brought is just a surface. They just scratched the surface of Pinterest or something. I can show them, hey, listen, something like this, like the idea is amazing, but we can do it really different visually. Like it can be a complement for your body, it can be custom, it can be tailored to you, like it can be so much different that nobody else has, and can be a conversation starter, it can be meaningful, original, like there's so many ways. I'm trying sometimes to convince people not to do the standard thing, unless it's important that there's a, let's say, a quote from a book, and the book was important, and the book was made with let's say Bodoni or Helvetica, whatever, like if it's important that it's something um, like that, then I'm of course gonna go for it, and I'm not gonna convince them it has to be handwritten or something. I also like the challenge of copying typography on people's skin, as long as it makes sense, because sometimes people have expectation that it can be like printed, but tattooing is, it's putting wet ink in human body, which is not like paper, or like, you know what I mean, it's pigment particles applied under the skin. So you can do it really precisely nowadays, but it will change with time, also depending on how people treat it, how they treat their skin, if they go to the sun too much, or if they like use creams and whatnot. um so there's many factors, yeah, but yeah, I don't remember the original question, sorry.
Yeah, I think I told you the story before that finding you and your work was helped me in my life, because as a calligrapher I get requests for a tattoo design.
Yes.
And I normally I try to convince them that I'm not the right person. But when you never can recommend somebody, that's a problem. And now that I have found somebody like you, I recommend people when they come up to me who want a written tattoo. Because the problem is I can do a design, but I can't do the tattooing. And I think that's
Yeah.
another important thing. I did it one single time, and exactly what I was always fearing of was happening, that I did the design, it was approved, she was very happy, then she went to the tattoo artist, and the tattoo artist, who was not specialized on lettering, he cut a line. He cut a line which was a crazy thing to do, typography, also from the letters, from the letter forms. So
Oh,
I couldn't tell her. He destroyed the whole idea.
oh
I could
no.
tell her because it was already tattooed on her skin, so that was very disappointing. And since then, I tell people, well, go to Berlin. I know somebody who's specialized on lettering. So that
Thank
made
you.
well, that made my life a lot easier, you know.
Yeah, like before I started tattooing, I also had a lot of requests to design tattoos. And what happened is every single time I saw the results, um, I was convinced it's impossible to tattoo calligraphy, because
Yeah,
every time I saw it was either like, how to say this in English, it just didn't look right, like
yeah,
the lines were shaky, the color was not solid, it looked scratched, it looked like just a mistake, and something that has to be laser later or something.
yeah.
So for a very long time I didn't even thought about trying tattooing. I always had people asking me, oh, why are you not tattooing? You can do it, like you can write and this and that. But I always said, like, first of all, it's hurting people, and then like I I didn't know that you can get a result that will be looking okay. So until this one day, I have a friend was visiting me, and he had the tattoo machine, and he said, you know what? Here's the tattoo machine. Here's my leg. Try. Try, because like you have to, and he already had a sketchbook on his leg because his girlfriend was learning on his leg, so he had a bunch of lines and circles and dots and whatnot. So he said, like, yeah, just write something here on my, like, on my leg. And i I tried. I was very how do you say, stressed, and I tried, and I'm like, okay, that's actually pretty cool. I used to do airbrushing. I used to do, like, using calligraphy pens is also quite precise and challenging. And there is a very certain way you need to hold the tool to be able to pull the lines, especially with a pointed pen. You have to be really careful about the direction and all that stuff. That in tattooing is very similar. Like you need to be careful how you hold the machine, how you pull the needle. Like you can go sideways because then you will have one edge of the line will be very nice and sharp, and but the other edge will be like this because the ink, like the needle, is penetrating the skin, and the where the edge is will be nice and sharp, but where the needle hits under the skin, it will create a blowout, a fuzzy, you know, it
Mm.
won't look good. So things like that, you need to always, follow the direction of the machine and all that. And yeah, one day I got asked to design a logo for a tattoo studio in Berlin, and I was taking part in Stroke Art Fair where I was exhibiting my works with my wife, and I was like, "Hey, I'm in Berlin. Let me go to this tattoo studio and check what they want." And I went there with my sketchbook and my pen, and the owner came and was like, everybody was super friendly. There was people from all over the world, which was already for me was a totally different um how to say expectations I that I had was like bikers, like old metal, heavy metal kind of Harley Davidson riders, whatever. But it was a bunch of really cool people, some surfers, there was a guy from Mexico, a guy from Brazil, a guy from America, a guy from Israel. So like the whole world was there. And when the when I was asking about the logo, I took out my pen and my sketchbook and I just started like, oh, so how do you want it? Like this, like this? I did a bunch of sketches in 5 minutes, and all the guys stopped tattooing, came to the desk, and were like, they looked at it and said, dude, you have to tattoo. And I'm like, why? And they said, because everybody wants a lettering tattoo, but nobody wants to do it. Because there was a guy specializing in Japanese, now traditional, American traditional, a lot of different styles, but nobody did lettering. And back then, the only lettering that was done was, da font or Word, and then just fonts from the computer with horrible spacing. And you saw all those tattoos online probably, like the and they said, come to Berlin, we will give you a place to stay for a month, we will give you the machines, and just try. If you don't like it, whatever, but if you like it, you stay. And I stayed, and that's how I ended up in Berlin, actually. And I was 30 years old when I started tattooing, and I thought, okay, that's late, because all the guys that I know, all the girls that I know, they started when they were like 17, 20, 22. They had already like 10 years of experience, and I was thinking, okay, this is too late. But it was so fun and so like challenging and so interesting that I was like, yeah, why not? Why not trying? And then I also remembered that today you're the youngest you'll ever be, so why not? And I tried, and I fell in love with the process, and it was just getting better and better every day. Um, I in the beginning I was very stressed about the safety, about hurting people, about cross contamination, and which things to use for disinfection. And also, the equipment was way different than now. Now it's so much easier. You have medical grade equipment, everything is sterile, everything is perfectly precise. Back then, it still was old school coil machines, and have to sterilize everything by hand every day, 3 hours every day just for cleaning the equipment. Now everything is, as I said, it's so easy. Like you have so many different cartridges configurations. Just click it on the machine and tattoo, and that's it. And the end, you put it in the hazard box, and that's it. You go on with your day. You don't have to spend 3 hours with chemicals, cleaning all that stuff. Um, so yeah, I fell in love with the process, and now every day I go to work, I can't wait to get there, because I know I still remember all the things that I did before, working for a school book company, doing illustrations. And if we had a cool idea, the boss would say no, just take the old illustration, change the colors, print it. Like it, we have to sell, sell, sell. No time to do cool stuff. Things like that. Then I did the industrial design, and I was designing trains. And in that business, you work on a project for 1, 2 years, and in the end, you have to change everything because the law changed, because there is no budget anymore, because something. It was so frustrating. Always on the computer, always depending on the software and all that stuff. And now I can work by hand. I can take my tools with me anywhere. Look at me now, sitting in the forest doing this. If I need to, I take my iPad, I take a picture of this, take my pen, trace it, just send it to the client. That's it. I can do it in 2 hours now. Yeah.
Um,
And the big advantage of working every day with clients in tattooing is, like, first of all, the exercises, the practice you get, and yeah, the processes. Now, I remember when I was designing logos, it would take like a month for a project. Nowadays, I treat it like a tattoo design. So I will use the same kind of techniques, and mixing it with my design background and tattooing, mixing those worlds together, and also graffiti with calligraphy. So I apply dynamism of graffiti to calligraphy and the design processes from the industrial design and visual communication to calligraphy to tattooing world, and it all combined um, helps me to create it, like to do it faster, but also not losing the quality. I think, I hope, um, with practice, and you get better if you do it all the time. Like you see those videos of I don't know, people making ice cream somewhere in India when they like do it with juggling all those things, and then you see people in Chinese factories producing stuff that like you would take 5 hours to do something they do in 5 minutes. And yeah, I think with this kind of practice and approach, it takes you come to a point. I have this that if the day is good, I see the design in my head and I just trace it on the paper, and it's there is no hesitation. The confidence level is pretty high. Of course, sometimes it takes a while to warm up, and as I said, sometimes I have clients that want something in different languages, and it takes me a while to get used to the different composition. If you write in different languages, you notice for sure that the letters that come together in words are sometimes really weird. So if I write in business writing in Polish, it's a horror because there's so many connections of uh, not lowercase, the descenders, where the letters go down, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes it's nightmare because in Polish you have a lot of those. So for example, my father's name, my father's name is Zygmunt. And if I want to write it in script, look what happens. I do Z, Y, G, and then we have M, U, N, E. This, now I wrote it many times now, so I know how to do this. So sometimes to avoid this thing, I can make the Z like this, and then maybe like this, and somehow counterbalance this. But when I write text or design tattoos in Polish or in Latvian or something like this, like the Slavic languages, and it takes a while to get used to the way the letters are coming together. So I don't know if it makes sense. Maybe I'm just talking stupid things now, but
Question, a question, Adam. I know of one other calligrapher who does tattooing as well. And that's
yeah,
Victor Kams. Who,
of course.
what other calligrapher tattoo artists do you know of?
Well, there is many actually. Right now there is quite more and more. So only in Poland you have, for example, calligraph other. Adam Poręba is a really, really cool calligrapher, really good calligrapher, tattooing as well. He comes from calligraphy background and started tattooing. You have Paweł Reda, is really good. Mateusz Wolski, WLK, this guy, like I know him since forever, and he's a really, really good calligrapher, street artist, graffiti writer, and tattooer. Um, in Germany, there is a few people. In America, you have a lot of, the thing is, when I started tattooing, I actually realized there's so many amazing lettering artists that the world of calligraphy, typography, design, or graffiti doesn't know about because they only did tattooing. And you have especially those people from the West Coast, Los Angeles area. Um, Basically California, the style of Chicano or Cholo uh, calligraphy, writing, gang lettering. When you look at it, when you analyze it from the design point of view or art point of view, you will realize it's so creative and so amazing, especially when you realize that those people never had anything to do with art classes or classical kind of approach or academic approach. They, they I don't know how to like another topic for hours of conversations on trying to figure out where it comes from, what's the history and all that. So, but let me think if there's like, Michael Ward, the Spencerian master from Canada. Michael tried tattooing, and with his first try, he nailed it. Like he used a single needle and a three liner, which are very hard to work with, very fine lines. But he's an extremely precise calligrapher, so he just picked up the machine and tattooed a friend, and it came out super amazing.
Wow.
So
Very versatile.
Victor Kams, of course, like Mr. Kams is amazing graffiti writer, calligrapher, tattooer. Who else? More, yeah, there's, as I said, like a lot right now. Because also tattooing now it's different. The economy is not as it used to be, but for a while, tattooing was really good for business. So a lot of artists picked up tattooing because that was the best way to actually live off art. Um, Now it's a little bit different because the market is oversaturated with tattoo artists, especially in places like Berlin, where there is over 30,000 tattooers registered, and not registered, I guess, probably like triple that. um, but yeah, it's growing. I can see that it's growing, and a lot of calligraphers are picking up tattooing, and not only tattooing, sign painting, custom like motorcycles, cars, helmets, things like that.
Yeah, I saw the designs and work from the work of many calligraphers and tattoo artists on the wall of your studio, and
Yeah,
strongly encourage everyone here to visit Adam's
yeah,
studio.
please.
His address in the chat, and I visited his let's see.
Yeah, you saw you were there in January, right? So you saw the collection we have. So we have a collection of art from street artists, graffiti writers, traditional calligraphers, tattooers, many uh, different kind of worlds, sign painters. We also organize workshops. We invite people from the world of sign painting, glass gilding, design, photography, like even performance and dancing. Everything that has to do with art, expression, and all this, exploring of creative fields. Um, and we make also art exhibitions. Right now, there's an exhibition of my wife, Anna Taut, of her traditional oil paintings. Took me 8 years to convince her to finally exhibit, but she did it. And I'm very happy because it also was very successful, and I think the exhibition will still last for a few weeks, and then we're gonna change it to something else. I don't know exactly yet what. We have a few ideas, or we will hang a collection that we have that we didn't show yet. So, every time there's someone visiting us, either it's a guest artist or a graffiti artist or calligrapher, we always get something. We exchange art. Um, so yeah, I have to say we have quite an impressive collection already. I also collect historical materials, so I have some old letters. I have some nice objects like Victorian fountain pens, not fountain pens, Victorian retractable pens, for example. Yeah,
Fascinating.
I'm also like I love to collect things and objects, and um, I love to show them to people. It's I'm really happy that we have a place where we can do it.
Yeah. Well, I encourage everyone to visit him. check out his studio and follow him on Instagram. It's I believe it's just Scriptorium Berlin on Instagram,
Yes,
right?
yes. Scriptorium Berlin and Theosone is my Instagram. Instagram is the most, how do you say, updated one. Because, for example, our website we didn't touch since 2019. There are plans. I have a guy working on it, but life happens and there's never enough time to take care of this because there's so many other things to do. But yeah, hopefully soon we will update because we have really amazing artists in the studio. The tours, really cool guest artists visiting all the time. But as I said, for now, Instagram is the most up-to-date source of um, information about Scriptorium.
Yeah. Anyway, check it out, everybody. We're coming up on by the end of our presentation right now.
Oh,
Thank you very much for
well,
your
thank
presentation
you.
and for doing this very impromptu presentation during your vacation. I really
Thank you so much.
time away from your stay in there. Looks beautiful. Have a
Thank
fabulous
you.
time there on the shore of the Baltic Sea.
Thank
Next Blackletter Brunch will be with, I'm not sure who the presenter will be. I'm not sure if it's going to be Helena. Helena, are you there still? It might be her, maybe not. I think she's still thinking about it.
I am here.
Hey, there you are.
Yeah, I put the 27th of July down in my calendar.
Okay.
And thank you so much for this lecture. It's really interesting. I'm sorry I was a
Thank
bit long story, but yeah. So in the middle of a forest in Sweden.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I live
Very
in
cool.
Norway, but yeah.
Oh, I love
listen.
Norway. I used to visit Oslo many times for Oslo Motor Show, painting on motorcycles and cars.
Oh, wow. That's very
Yeah,
cool. And I love your tattoos. They're really, really
thank
cool.
you. Thank you so much. It means a
And
lot.
I really get your point, what you're saying about you have to understand lettering or calligraphy and how writing actually works to make it work as a tattoo. Because if you don't understand letters, it looks, not
Oh,
that
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I always remember the words of my professor, visual communication and heraldry professor, who was always saying that there are two types of people, the ones that have eyes and the ones that have buttons, like, shirt. And yeah, there's a lot of people with buttons instead of eyes, and they can't see the detail. The detail is so important, in calligraphy. You know that. Yeah, you're right.
It looks really beautiful. Maybe somebody asked this because I came in a little bit late, but and it's a stupid question, and I'm sure you've had it before, but have you ever made a mistake?
Oh,
And
yeah.
what do you do if you make a mistake?
Yes, I did. I did. I think 3 times it happened. Every time it was because client gave me wrong example. So first one that I really remember that was a tattoo convention in Brussels. I don't remember which year, but there was this lady. She was a bodybuilder, super like tight muscles and everything, which is important for the story, because the word was strength, and the th in the end of the word. She was from Belgium or from France. I don't remember. I'm from Poland originally, living in Germany, so we are both not native English speakers, and I was so stressed to not make a mistake, even if it's the word strength, the th in the end, she wrote it um, wrong. But I was so stressed not to make a mistake that I just rewrote letter by letter what she wrote on paper. And then without writing it just like that from my head, I started designing. And she liked the design. We put it on. I tattooed it. And then, the convention, usually like until midnight. And I went to the hotel super tired. I posted my work on Instagram, put the phone down, go to sleep. And then I see like the phone is like, every time notifications, bloom, bloom, bloom. And And I'm just thinking, whoa, people love it, you know, like so cool. I pick up the phone and there's like, fail, fail, fail. And and right away I couldn't sleep. Like I stand up straight, you know. I wrote to the client like, hey, there's a mistake. She replied, oh, that's funny. Okay. But the thing is, I designed it with a ruling pen, and it was so expressively written that we were able to actually fix it just by stretching some lines there, and we fixed it. Another time was geographical coordinates. Someone gave me the wrong numbers, but also we were able to fix it because it was expressive writing, and 3 and 8. It was supposed to be 8, but the guy gave me 3, so we were able to change the 3 to 8, you know, just by adding a little bit. And another time was a girl. She wanted a letter J. She wanted a letter J on her ribs, and I asked her, and I did the designs. She was like, "Yes, this one, I love this one." It was also a convention, so we put it on her, tattooed it. 2 or 3 months later, I got an email from her. She was a French speaker. That's also important for the story. The J was actually supposed to be a G, and luckily enough, it was also written in a very expressive copper plate, and we were able to make the loop, add the loop, and it was a G. So yeah, sorry. That's the 3 that I remember the most. Of course, it happens sometimes, but it's most cases it's quite easy to fix mistakes in tattoos, unless it's something really like super, let's say, aesthetic in form, that it's very clean. So single needle 3-liners, like very fine line tattoos. You make a mistake there, you either go thicker or black out, and then try to cover with something bigger. But there are very, you know, like very creative ways you can do stuff like this. I would say I stress less about making mistakes. Now, of course, I ask clients to check 5 times if we are both not native speakers of a language, if someone wants something in Latin, or I also have already a network of friends I can ask for help if they're like native, I don't know, Hebrew or Georgian lettering, or Chinese or Japanese. I have a bunch of friends that can help me with that. Because for people, if I'm a calligrapher, then of course I can do calligraphy, right? Doesn't matter if it's Arabic or so it happens. Sometimes people ask me for different languages, and then I need to study a bit more. I had the chance to tattoo some historical pieces, like the stone of Rosetta, for example, on a guy's chest. You can just imagine like the writing in ancient Greek or Egyptian or Sumeric or whatever. It happens as well, which is also interesting because then I can, how do you say, go again through the art history that I had in school times, which is fun. Yeah.
But
Sorry, I
see,
can talk forever.
don't you sometimes find that a little bit scary? Because I've discovered, maybe it's just me, but if I write languages I really don't understand with a different set of letters, not necessarily the Latin letters, I don't know if a slight sort of change to the line I create, or this, you know, this pen stroke you make, will actually alter the meaning of the word.
Oh yeah,
So
this
that
happens
instead of
quite a lot.
writing flowers, you end up writing something obscene or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it happens. That's why I said that now I'm very lucky to have a network of friends that I can ask if something is correct.
But the Rosetta Stone, you don't have many native speakers speaking all the
Yeah.
language.
The thing is, like
Rosetta Stone.
in the case of Rosetta Stone, I just straight copy, you know, like the exact things that are there. Or with the Trian column from Rome, with the Senatus Populus Quorum Romanum, for example, the first capital letters, Roman letters, I would try to copy them as they were
Yeah, but
originally done.
they're still Latin letters, so we know.
Yeah, that's true. But with Cyrillic lettering or Cyrillic, you know, like I have a lot of friends from Ukraine or from Russia or Georgia that they can help me with. especially when it's script, when it's like written,
Hmm.
because I can copy I can go to fonts and check, but if it's handwritten, then it's a different story. I ask.
Oh, that's good. Because cuneiform or Chinese, I wouldn't dare touch. I don't think.
Yeah, I visited Hong Kong twice last year, and I had a chance to tattoo some characters, but every time I had people helping me, and then I was just applying my touch to it, like ink splash or something, or like effect of a spray or something like that, or a dry marker. But I always had someone who would tell me, okay, this is okay, this means something stupid. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? No. Well,
If you have questions, just write me on Instagram, because sometimes maybe you are curious about something, you want to try something when it comes to tattooing, or that there is anything I could help you with. Please feel free. I love to talk about things, and I love to share. I do what I do. I do what I love just because people I met in my life were happy to share their secrets with me. So I will as well.
thank you so much. It was
Thank
fascinating
you.
watching you do your sketching and developing your tattoos. And
Thank you. I'm so stressed.
and if you're ever in Berlin, check out his studio.
Please do
It's
that.
fascinating.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure. It was a great
Fantastic.
pleasure and big honor for me. I was stressed all day to do this. Thank you.
You did great.
I really
Thank you.
enjoyed this, and I'm serious. I'll watch the recording to see the first bit. Can I
Yeah.
say just one more thing? I'm sorry, because you said you were collecting things, and you said Victorian retractable pens, and I
Yeah.
just picked up a parcel at the post office on my way here, and it's a Victorian retractable pen.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
So it just made me laugh a little bit that you sort of
Wow.
mentioned it.
Beautiful.
So
Wow.
beautiful.
Oh, that
Did you
is
already try
great.
it?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Did you try it?
No,
Did
I
you
haven't
try
had
to-
a chance. I just arrived and I was late, and very long story, and I won't bore you with it, but we had someone burgle our summer house. So we had
Oh.
to travel here really quickly, and it wasn't really planned, but I also had a parcel to collect at the post office, so okay.
Hopefully
Did that,
everything's
and
fine.
yeah, so I just arrived and logged on to your talk and
Wow.
unwrapped this while you were talking,
Wow.
because I was so curious, and then you mentioned it, and I just thought that's so funny that you mentioned Victorian
I
retractable.
love those. I really love those. Every time I go to some kind of live presentation of calligraphy, I take my Victorian pens with me, because it's always people love to see those things, handmade, beautiful objects, like pieces of art, like little
Exactly.
Fabergé eggs of calligraphy.
Yeah, I know. And I have to stop buying things because it's sort of filling up my studio, but it's I just love these
This
little
problem.
historical artifacts. So yeah, sorry.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You have a good night. Enjoy the end of your day. It's already 9 p.m. over there, isn't it? It's
Yes, it's
Yeah.
still
Yeah, it is.
the sun is on the horizon, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it's summer. It's the perfect. How is it in Poland? I mean, perfect weather in Germany. Wonderful.
It is perfect. Actually, today is perfect, but they say the next days will be probably rainy. So hopefully not, because I came here with a motorcycle and my family came with a car. So let's see. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye bye.
you.
Good night. Ciao.
Bye.